I can't imagine what it must be like when you are out there on the streets, that you don't have a job, you don't have a whole lot of commitments. What it must be like to just have to sit around and think all the time. I mean, like, and all you can really think about is that you're homeless and how you got there and what you're missing and you know the family that may have left you or the family that you lost or whatever circumstances were that got you there. I mean, that's what you would think about because I mean that's what happens in everyone's life. Kind of when you get a moment of slowdown, you'll start thinking and your mind will start wandering. A lot of times it tends to wander towards the sad side of things or the introspective kind of things. And so I can definitely understand. You don't have anything to distract you. Why you would want a distraction. Um, and so I can definitely sympathize a little more with the people that fall victim to substance abuse because that's an escape. That's a way to, um, you know, not have to think all the time when you're just sitting around waiting for the next meal or waiting for your chance to panhandle or waiting for um, a chance to go, you know, whatever. Um, like all you're going to be doing is thinking, and so I can see why you don't want to be thinking about that. So you get drunk or you use other substances. Um, so definitely was something that stuck to me during the trip was just a newfound sympathy for those um, who fall victim to that or who have that problem intensified when they fall victim to homelessness. So that was one of the things that I got out of the trip. So we got fed. Um, we're good. We started wandering kind of around downtown. We decided we want to head towards where our meeting location is going to be, just so that we're close when it becomes time. Um, and we tried to do some panhandling on the way. Not very successful at all. Well, there's one girl in our group who like was the most successful. I don't know what it was about her, but like she, if anyone could get something, it was her. So kudos to her. Um, we were not nearly as lucky getting panhandling going on. So we go back for the first night. We spent a little bit of time in Lafayette Square, the park right across from the White House, and we weren't really treated very badly there at that time. But later on that night, when with our sleeping bags in hand, we got stopped by the park police because they asked us if we planned on sleeping there or if we planned on protesting because we weren't allowed to do either of those things. Um, and we told them that we weren't, that we were just taking a break and we were going to rest there. But we were watched for a while there by the park police. But for the most part, the police there in that area didn't bother us nearly as much as I kind of thought. Because generally, when I've visited the White House as a tourist, not in the homeless challenge, but you don't see homeless people there. And while we were there, I don't remember seeing any homeless people there. I guess besides us. So I don't know if it's just because it's illegal to panhandle there. You're going to get harassed. I don't know if that's what kind of keeps them away, but I didn't notice any there. Um, but of course, I gave you time to kind of think about the contrasting image that just a block away we were going to be meeting to sleep, and we were a block away from the White House, the home of the President of the United States, the home of the leader of the free world, where he's staying and he's sleeping and he's running the wealthiest country in the world, and a block away we're going to be sleeping or meeting up to sleep. So that was just something that you think about in those moments when you think. After that, we met up with our guides, like I said, a block away and from the White House, and we kind of share stories and have our fun times because it's been the first time we've all been back together for just a little bit while we're waiting. And then they take us to where our sleeping locations were, and we were broken up into two groups for that. And the first night we were taken to the McPherson Square metro station area, and we just kind of slept where the escalators, at the top of the escalators, that kind of area, which was actually a very well lit, covered area. And I was kind of disappointed at how unrealistic it was. I really didn't think that many homeless people stayed in that area. But I understood also the safety concerns with the NCH, so I was appreciative of that as a trip coordinator. That we were in a place where there's lights and there's shelter, and we're okay. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, really, is this what I would do on the first night of being homeless? Would I sleep here? Maybe, maybe not. Um, and during that night, we got interrupted as we were trying to sleep by a homeless man that came and kind of told us that if we really wanted to know about homelessness, it isn't to come do a challenge where we're just spending some time sleeping on the streets, that we needed to just go talk to the homeless. And I wasn't really upset with him sharing that, because I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, that's why we're here. That's what we're doing, and that's what we've been doing, trying to do while we're here, is to meet and talk with homeless people. Yeah, we want to go through the services. Like I said, we learned a lot with like how far it is to get to these things and how much you have to do to try to find these things. And I forgot to tell you that like we got told by the agency while we were over there that actually not too far away from the White House itself, another McKenna's wagon does a feeding, or maybe it's the same one. They go at different times. I'm not exactly sure. So we definitely did not have to walk as far as we did to find food that first night. So that was, of course, great to find out after the fact. So yeah, so we had to struggle with that, and that's one of those lessons that you kind of learn from this experience that you wouldn't learn just from talking to homeless people, because they just don't think to tell you things like that. Just how hard it is, kind of like just to find resources, because for them, they've been doing it for a while for the most part. I don't remember us ever running into like some brand new homeless people. Most people that were there had been homeless for a while, so they don't really think to tell you, oh yeah, it's really hard to find things at first. So that's something that we struggled with, and we had that card. I mean, when you fall into homelessness and you probably aren't going to be given a card right away. You're going to have to go find that card, so you're going to have to find where to eat. So it was definitely eye-opening in that way. But so yeah, we spent the night there, and the guy talked to us about how he was a little drunk, but his point was still valid, that we needed to speak with them. So the next day, we definitely took advantage of that. We met up with several different people who kind of told us their stories and showed us a little bit about what their real life was. And I'm sure you've heard in some of the other videos, one of them actually took out their scissors that they use to protect themselves, a very large pair, like not like scissors, but like scissors that they use to protect themselves, and how he had been attacked and how that happens. And he answered a lot of questions about like, well, what do you do when that happens? And like, they don't go to the hospital, and they're like, if he comes back around here, we're going to have to do something about it, which, we discouraged from them. But at the same time, you got to understand, and you kind of understand where they're coming from. So we talked with them. We also went down to the National Mall, where we were definitely completely ignored by almost everyone that saw us. And by now, we look like ridiculously, bad. We have all this stuff going on, so we're gross and we stink. And we are just completely ignored by everyone down there, for the most part. We kind of go lay out, there's this concert going on, and they're actually talking about how they're going to be making sandwiches later in the day for the homeless, and here we are, and none of them are paying any attention to us. So that was interesting. But we do that. We actually go to one of the Smithsonians to try that out. What's it like to be homeless? Can you get into the Smithsonians? Because, it's supposed to be open and free, and we did. Actually, the guards there were very, very nice. We went to the Museum of the American Indian. We went inside one of their kind of lounge areas and stayed there for a while because we were tired and got some more rest. Then we took what panhandling money we had and actually used that to buy Metro passes, so we didn't have to walk all the way back to the NCH offices, which were very far away. Because Metro passes actually, I guess, you get a new idea of what's expensive and what's not after doing this. But in terms of not being in homelessness, they're not very expensive at all to use. So we used our money for that, and went up there and kind of checked in with them. And they basically were just like, everything okay? Great, keep going. So that's how that went, and that was good. So then we haven't eaten. It's about 2 o'clock, and we haven't eaten at all today. Because we didn't want to walk all the way to the place where breakfast was, because everyone told us, in the paper too, that it was 20-some blocks away. And so we just decided, not worth it, we're not going to walk that far. So we haven't eaten by this time. We were kind enough, actually, while we were down at the mall, we went to the refreshment stand and asked for any extra food they could give us. And they told us that there weren't any extras, there's no such thing as extras, but the lady was nice enough to buy all 3 of us a bottle of water. So we got that. So that was nice. We really appreciated that. And